Hello again, Rabbi.
Hello again, Joe.
So in a previous recording, you mentioned the truckers driving around the Beltway, and I had occasion to drive over the Beltway and saw the truckers going by, and there were people on the overpasses holding flags and waving signs and support. And my wife, I think I'm safe to say that, made a comment about the lack of intelligence. And I said, no, I don't agree at all. I think it's very unfair of the government to impose such restrictions on many of these truckers are self-owned small businesses, and their whole living is driving a truck around the country. And if they're not vaccinated, it's not really that big a deal because they're in a cab by themselves 12, 14 hours a day. A lively discussion ensued. What do you think about that? Is there just a right or wrong to everything, or is everything shades of gray?
Oh, you just hit on one of my favorite topics. Now, let's drop government overreach, because that's an emotional term that generates whatever it generates, feelings about government. No, I want to zero in on something very specific. When I was chaplain at Perry Point, remember, I spent 40 years in a psychiatric hospital. One of our nursing assistants, staff members, wore flip-flops. Was beyond any of us why in a psychiatric facility you would wear flip-flops, and most of us wore regular tied shoes, and all our maintenance people had iron, had the tipped shoes. So if you dropped a pipe or something, it protected your foot. There's appropriate footwear for the setting you're in. And to be on a psychiatric ward with flip-flops I just can't wrap my mind around why you would do that. You're endangering yourself. Never mind other patients, never mind tripping, spilling, falling. Put all that aside, just in terms of your personal safety. Not a good idea. Well, rather than taking that individual aside, talking with them, seeing why they did or what they didn't do, or if there's something else going on, and should there be disciplinary action or not, instead, the hospital instituted a 1-hour training on appropriate footwear for the entire staff. It cost several $1 million because rather than seeing patients, I was paid $100 an hour to sit. I wouldn't wear flip-flops. I wear tie shoes. I wear safety shoes. So this is what I want to focus on. One size doesn't fit all. It makes sense to mandate vaccines for certain parts of the country, certain populations, certain groups. Perfect. Makes perfect sense. But one size doesn't fit all. Sears Roebuck, may it rest in peace, developed a tool many years ago. It was a lathe. It was a drill press. It was a saw. It did everything poorly. It did everything poorly. You can't substitute one tool to do everything. And I still see on television occasionally a company that wants me to buy a tool that does everything. Doesn't work. And one size doesn't fit all. That's the message that I want to give to our government. And that's where I agree with our truck people, with our drivers, with their protest. I would rather have them focus on one size doesn't fit all rather than government overreach, because that's a whole separate topic. Let's just focus on, when we make laws and rules, who do they apply to? Why are we making them? And do we want to create something for the entire population that just doesn't apply to the entire population? I know it's easier to create a training for the whole staff. I don't think it is, but somebody in power thought it was, rather than talking to the individual person. Look, I'm wearing a real tie right now. When I was at the medical center, I either didn't wear a tie or it was a breakaway tie. It's a psych hospital. Somebody can grab you. We all knew that. That's part of the training. So you wouldn't wear a tie that's tied. However, if I'm not on the ward, Why pass a rule only breakaway ties can be worn? If you're in the office, the director, the associate director, they never went on the wards.
But in a larger context, you couldn't expect the government of the United States to take aside everybody who didn't want to get a vaccine, sit down with them in a room one-on-one and talk to them about it.
No, you don't have to do that, Joe. When you're passing the law, you sit down with a map of the United States. You look at each other and say, our goal is to prevent the spread of COVID-19. Okay, where are the centers of population? What areas are sparsely populated? Where are people moving from area to area? What would be the best way to get people vaccinated and to prevent the disease from spreading? Rather than making a blanket statement, and we saw what the outcome was, a lot of angry, irate people, and I agree with them on this, not government overreach, on trying to make one size fits all. You can look at it and say, wait a minute, these are the areas where we have to mandate everyone. These are the areas where we would recommend, and these are the areas that we can leave alone. And then just let's watch and let's use the science.
So are you suggesting that we trust in the fact that all people are basically common sense good and smart?
I think so. I think if we had started out by not creating an overall rule for everybody, then people wouldn't have said, oh, it doesn't apply to me, because they're right, it doesn't. I am on a farm in Montana, and my stuff comes in mail order. I visit town on this basis. So wearing a mask might be sufficient. I mean, I believe in the vaccine. I've had shots. In fact, I still have my green card. When I was an immigrant in Israel, without it, I couldn't get in, couldn't get out, couldn't move. It was that I had all the proper vaccinations needed according to the laws of the countries I was visiting. I have no problem with that. I'm overly vaccinated. However, I can understand some of our truck drivers who have minimum contact, and to have some, if not literature, some discussions among the truckers is, okay, you don't want to get vaccinated. How do you prevent, if you have it or if you're a carrier, you're going into the store, maybe wear a mask for that time. Just those moments. I think we can accommodate people. The problem being, we always jump one size fits all. We don't want to take the time.
So what is it that we need to do? Because I can see if we don't make a rule, so many people choosing not to follow it. I mean, I know when I'm driving on the road, a lot of people are passing me, even if I'm going 5 miles over the speed limit.
Correct.
So we can't really trust people to always do the right thing. And you're talking about a huge problem of oversight that is already straining a police force.
No, Joe, you just brought the perfect example. The speed limit on the Beltway is 55. The speed limit in Arizona, Montana on open highways is in the 70s. So we're already doing it. We're already tailoring the law for the environment. So don't say we can't. We're already doing it. I'm just saying, let's take the time to do it for other areas. And then, yeah, some people will play games. Some will game the system. Okay, it's going to happen. But if we start by acknowledging there are some differences, then I think we have a better chance of getting everyone buy-in.
Well, I know what I don't have a limit for, and that's the wisdom that you share with us every week. Thank you so much, Rabbi. Don't drive too fast. And the next time I see a trucker, I will ask him to honk his horn on your behalf.
Well, thank you, Joe. And thanks for bringing this up. And I hope my listeners take to heart when they're in a committee or in a place to say, one size doesn't fit all.